James Gallagher, whose firm creates custom automations that improve lead follow-up, intake, onboarding, document creation, and much more. Let's dive in. Welcome, James. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Cara. Thanks again so much for having me, and thank you, Jim and Mike and your whole team. It's great to connect.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. I think that our audience will find a lot of value in what you have to offer. So, to start, a little bit of your background. So, I read that with your co-founder, you have grown two companies from kind of how you say the garage into multi-million-dollar businesses. Tell us a little bit about that first endeavor. We'll get in depth about what you're doing now, but tell us a little bit about that first company that you're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. Kind of going back a ways. This is like 2005, right when I was graduating high school, basically. I was always kind of entrepreneurial, so always a rebel. Never satisfied with how things are. Uh, and yeah, I used to sell prepaid legal. So one of my buddies recruited me into that. Today it's known as Legal Shield. So I did that for about a year. That was my first sort of job, if you will, or introduction to the business world. And then met a few people through prepaid legal, one of them being my co-founder today. And yeah, we just we're doing a lot of lead generation for family law matters. They tend to be particularly sticky. They don't go away, unfortunately. And there's always something. It's a massive market, probably the most neglected area of law, in my opinion. And so we basically started. I was a founding employee of that first company back in June 2006. And yeah, we went from 6 people in a garage to over 120 in about 18 months. And you just, when, as Gary Halbert would say, when there's a starving crowd, that's your best audience. So particularly with this area of law, there's a lot of people that need help with family law matters. And so we were just doing their document preparation for them and nationwide. And I made the mistake of not getting any kind of written contract in place. Promises were made that were clearly broken, and basically the thing imploded because the owner wasn't taking care of business, wasn't taking care of the staff. So yeah, it sort of was a failed endeavor from the start in some ways, but clearly proved there's a lot of need for this. And so we sort of did a reset in January of 2009 with my current co-founder, and got up to around 50 employees. And over the whole course of everything, we've helped over 100,000 families across the U.S. Yeah, collectively generated over 20 million in revenue over that time. And from that, learned there's obviously huge need in unserved legal matters as a whole. I think around at least 80% civil matters don't get served every year. That's number's probably grown since I did some research on that and in preparing for a pitch deck around 2020, 2019. Right. So yeah, from there we evolved into a marketplace to connect potential clients with attorneys, because we found a lot of attorneys, they're always looking for clients, and there's a way to. We're good at lead generation, so why not put the two together, bring the two parties together, and see how they can. It's sort of like a. Back in the day, it was Elance. It was sort of like the Mercedes-Benz of freelance marketplaces. They they merged with Odesk and then rebranded as today Upwork. But we sort of modeled a lot of that entire experience off of that, and from there realized most attorneys don't have there is a lead generation problem, yes, but that is not the core problem. The core problem really is they don't know how to run a business. They haven't been trained how to. That a lot of law schools, I think pretty much all of them, fail attorneys in this way because law schools are funded by big law. So their intent is not to generate more entrepreneurial attorneys, but to create associates. So there's this massive gap there for equipping lawyers on how to really run a
Definitely.
business. So that's sort of how
Right.
we've evolved into that.
Yeah, that's really interesting and really smart that you were able to kind of identify that opportunity. So tell us about that marketplace now. Best legal choice, right? How are you generating leads for attorneys using that legal hiring platform and kind of what does that look like from the attorney's perspective?
Sure. Yeah. So it's pretty much organic at this point. We're not promoting it. We're not actively running any ads. I have a few plans to do that with AI now because it's a lot easier to generate content today from when we first started that. But it's pretty organic as far as its continual operations, and we're just maintaining the site and less than 100 opportunities per month. And most of the attorneys are in California because it just started locally and kind of grew from there. So um, yeah, we when we were promoting it heavily, I mean, that's kind of how we met some of our first um, superstars, if you will, to put them into the our accelerator for law firm growth acceleration. Um, I think they were adding at least 10 to 20,000 a month of new client revenue on a consistent basis. Those who were the most active and participating. So and we were really doing like a kind of a white glove experience. I mean, I was on the phone vetting calls and prospective clients, and then
Mhm.
hey, we got this one. Sending posting the jobs for them, sending out the invites. Connect with them as soon as you can. I'll place the bids for the attorneys.
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah, get
whatever
it
we
rolling.
can. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
right.
and
Right.
that's really where we found out the breakdown. There's just no systems for the most part on the law firm side for intake, for standard operating procedure, and people who actually know how to sell and conduct good intake. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
so on the platform on Best Legal Choice, you were generating some modest lead flow for some California attorneys, it sounds like, but then you were able to really identify that maybe it's not a lead volume or a lead flow problem. In a lot of cases, it's that conversion, it's that intake. Is that sort of what led you to then take that next step with Best Legal Accelerator? Is that accurate?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
And
we were spending a fortune on ads, and it was like 10,000 a month. We got you people that they're ready to go. Like because just from experience, you know how to conduct a call, right tone, build the confidence, let them listen, or we listen, they talk mostly, and I got a great case for someone and can't even get them on the phone, so it's like a total
yeah,
waste.
yes. Okay, walk me through a little bit what you just said. So you were spending money, you were spending on ads for the firm, so you were running Google ads to drive these leads, or just explain that a little bit to me.
Yeah, so typically, because we were trying to go for more, the more litigation cases, and a lot of divorce, family law disputes, business disputes. And so people who are typically in those kind of issues are looking for a solution versus need to be educated on the problem. So yeah, Google Ads has always been reliable. It's much more expensive today than it was, but still workable when you do things correctly. Um, and yeah, just make the phone ring. I mean, it's just I kind of just grew up with that. So
Yep.
um, yeah, that's the fastest way to get in front of people who are actively looking for an attorney, of course, who have a problem, and the intent is high. So it's
Are you
also very
still
competitive.
right? Are you still running Google ads for the firms that you're working with? Do you add to that lead flow, or are you primarily focused on the conversion and the intake side?
So yeah, we do the whole thing. I mean, it's really holistic at this point.
Okay.
So I sort of like break it into three buckets. So there's client acquisition, there's operations, and then you have technology. So basically those are the umbrellas for everything that everything else falls into. So yeah, the any kind of the marketing, the intake, the offer creation, the selling of the offer, um, and then conversion into new client, new client intake, um, standard operating procedures set up for everything essentially, which is really required if you want to have a systematic structure. And then on the staffing side of things, if they need attorneys, we'll help them find attorneys. If they need paralegals, and of course, virtual assistants are extremely helpful and valuable today. And we're still in a really great position of a supply versus demand. There's far more supply than there is demand, and so huge ROI for adopting VAs into the
Yeah.
ecosystem of the staff. And they're very. I could go on and on about how good it is to work with them, as far as their work ethic and their uh, willingness to do whatever needs to be done, and yeah, just totally different attitude than hiring people, even especially in California. It's like, but
Where are the VAs that you're working with?
mostly Philippines. We have
Yeah.
some in India, uh, some in South America. I should say a good number in South America
Cool.
as well. Some and in South Africa as well, actually.
Interesting.
It's beneficial because they sound British, so
Oh,
you,
right.
you
Yeah.
immediately get an elevated experience
Okay.
when
Yeah,
they're talking with someone from there. So, um,
that's good.
but yeah, and
So,
then so yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so you have a lot of really impressive case studies on that Best Legal Accelerator website. I'm reading them off here. 743% growth in 1 year, 5,000, 84% ROI, 47 grand in 8 days. How are you achieving these results for the firms that you partner with? Maybe take us through. You mentioned those three buckets. Are you providing a holistic sort of, all encompassing offer? Is it tailored per firm? Talk us through kind of what you're doing to really get these impressive results.
Sure. Yeah, it is pretty standardized at the all the way throughout. We start with creating the funnel, set up the automation for follow up, text, email, nurturing. Uh, do a VSL or a webinar. It's easy to do now with the AI and voice cloning and video cloning, um, and create the marketing strategy. And it's the legal industry is interesting in that there's just an overwhelming demand for legal help, and even when it's competitive. So, but once those things that front end is dialed in, it immediately becomes a staffing problem. Like that, just always what's happened, and we're continuously working on that side for them, even as we speak. So the revenue and I've heard Ben Glass say, the getting cases is the easy part. That really is true. When you have the marketing dialed in, you got the avatar dialed in, and you have the intake team set up and trained. Um, and if you have a good offer, that makes it even easier, of course. Uh, so, and if you're in a particularly well, most markets I should say are pretty good. Even if you're in a fragmented one, um, because you can pretty much advertise wherever you want. So, um, but yeah, once that's in place, then it moves into operations and staffing, and the virtual assistants can get a really good ROI on even doing the legal work. And then you stack that now with AI, it's through the roof ROI. So uh, the fulfillment has gotten way less expensive and a lot more efficient. So it's a really staggering um, result on that front. So it's now and then what we found is particularly for like the litigation type matters, um, they their caseloads go, they max out on cases. They need attorneys because at this time we can't have AI represent in the courtroom yet. Not sure if that will ever happen, but
Yeah.
uh, that becomes the recruiting issue of actually having an attorney that's needed to do the top level attorney work. You kind of have everything dialed in for everything else up to that point with either automation, with VAs, or both, a mix of both. So, but that's basically how I've been able to get those results. And
Yeah.
if it's a bigger market like family law, where there's just an overwhelming need, it's really easy to hit that. I shouldn't say easy. I should say it's a lot more um, predictable to reach that. I guess is a better, more appropriate term.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, and
So,
I found like pockets, like some niches that I didn't even know about, like auto fraud. I never knew that was a thing,
hmm,
and it's huge,
hmm,
just unbelievable blue ocean, and there's
hmm,
not many attorneys that do it. So,
hmm,
and we just happen to get fortunate to connect with Michael Klitsky and his team, and he was trained by, I guess, the Grand Master of auto fraud in California,
okay.
and he broke off on his own, and that's when we met, and basically been part of the main growth of his firm since 6 months in, 8 months in, or whatever. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's incredible to see what is out there and what's
That's really
possible.
impressive. Yeah, and you talk about kind of standardizing your solution, dialing in that front end, setting up those automations, the funnel with the video. What are the marketing solutions? What are the marketing channels that are feeding all of this? In other words, you talked briefly about Google Ads, but a firm comes to you. What marketing channels are you employing to then kind of, feed the rest of the operation?
Yeah, great question. So I it always starts with the prospect, the client in mind. Um, do they need to be educated, or are they searching for a solution? So like it's estate planning, a lot of education there. So typically
Yeah.
an interruption based approach is better. So like Facebook ads to connect with that audience versus if they're going through a dispute, they're online looking. So we want to hit them there. So it
Mm,
starts with who is the avatar, what is the main pain point, what are they looking for, what do they need. It's always client centric, client first philosophy, and I sometimes it's too fast for some attorneys, which I get. But I really try to be prudent about the entire approach. And the number one is a very dangerous number in business. If you have one bank account or one merchant account, one marketing channel, something happens to that, you're dead essentially. So uh, from a just talking on a marketing level, uh, we need to get SEO dialed in. We need to get social media dialed in, and we need to get the funnel dialed in. Uh, and then if they're able to do it, then a paid ads channel. So it's really like kind of those four
okay.
main things that really should be dialed in from the get go. And of course, SEO, that's sort of like your 401k for your domain. Social media, and now with AI, it makes it really easy to gain traction quickly with AI generated videos and um, other content and all the tools to chop up existing content to distribute and just get that brand exposure out there. And I think that it's definitely a necessity today than it's ever been because it's so
Yeah.
easy to do now. Um, so I think yeah, we definitely want to get ahead on that quickly and can get some great early traction with those, whether it's TikTok or YouTube Shorts, and then publishing across all the channels. Um, and of course, SEO is always changing, always shifting, and everyone's talking about AEO now, answer engine optimization, um, and obsessing over getting recommended by the different AIs and uh, at the end of the day, traditional SEO principles still apply because that's basically how the LLMs are finding the content, and even more so with they're looking at the social media presences, they're looking at the forums, they're looking at all the typical places that would demonstrate authority on a domain to then generate the responses, the recommendations. So they go hand in hand on that part, and then yeah, just getting things dialed in. Everything just goes into the funnel, so it's every location page or practice area page, service page. It's essentially that's the top of the funnel. And then hook them in with booking a call or calling, uh, and then getting that into a CRM like Go High Level. It seems to be that's my favorite. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. I don't really care about that. I just want to use whatever is the best tool on the market, and they happen to be the best tool in this area. So um,
Yeah, we use Go High Level as well. It's yeah, super diverse and really, really quite easy to, to set up and really get connected. That's kind of the key, right?
right.
I'm interested. So you and your team internally, are you handling all of the SEO work? Are you managing the Google ads if that's what's necessary? Are you managing the meta ads, or what does the team's work look like? Are you handling that internally?
Yeah, it's all handled internally by different teams, and I've worked hard to try to seek out some people who actually know what they're doing, of course, and who are on the team, who are the chief SEO chiefs. Um, our ads team, they've worked on like Patrick David's campaigns, Grant Cardone's campaigns.
Nice.
Um, just I'm not bragging. I'm just sharing. Like
No,
I
that's
really
what I'm
try to
asking. Yeah,
find
that's
people that know what they're doing. And
yep. How
uh,
big is the team, James? How big is the team now?
so I'd say our core team, if with all of those teams, we're around 20 people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. And what's your primary role? What does your kind of day to day look like?
Yeah, so I really take an Elon Musk approach. At least I try
Mhm.
to. It's knowing that the richest man in the world is sleeping on the floor at Tesla. Uh, uh, Manufacturing center. That's it's just yeah, says a lot. So uh, I've kind of always been in the weeds on things, probably more than I should, but uh, I genuinely am curious. I like to know how things actually work, and I want to stay sharp. I want to stay informed, and um, I think as a founder, you should know at a pretty deep level kind of what's going on throughout the organization. So I'm more hands on in that sense. I'd like to be less hands on, uh, but yeah, I mean I'm in it every day, and just want to keep driving and push people harder, and get it done, and get attorneys exceptional results. In this business, speed and accuracy is king. At least that's what I've found. And uh, it, working a law practice, it's stressful. I've I've worked earlier. I was a paralegal as well at some level with some firms, so I kind of know what that is like. And of course, talking to clients and prospective clients, they're stressed out on things, and so I really try to give that ultimate support, board on anything and everything for them, so that they can, have that relief, confidence, knowing all these other things are getting handled, and they don't have to worry about, things happening. I mean,
Yeah.
if someone's Google's, business profile gets suspended for some random reason, okay, well, we'll go handle it. I don't
Yeah.
even know what happened there, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Someone's domain, gets shut down because it expired because they didn't communicate with us for a year, but the previous ones, they didn't communicate with them for for a year either. Uh, okay, well, we'll just kind of that Patagonia, approach, or the Chick-fil-A approach. Um, I it, I'd really want to have that Chick-fil-A type reputation and experience. I happened to be introduced to Deanne Turner. She is the now retired chief of talent at Chick-fil-A. So that was a cool introduction and connection. Um, so just try to work with people like that and create that level of infrastructure and support for firms. I think is vitally important, and it goes back to I guess I didn't really share our why, but I want to make a remarkable experience for people. I mean, the whole issue is people don't get help because the attorneys they don't have a business. So if we achieve that, then it unlocks far more output of positive client experience, of people getting true legal help from the right attorneys, not getting ripped off in the process for it, and getting the best results possible because all the things connect together. Uh, it's never going to be perfect, but at least we can try to get to close to perfect as we can, um, and at scale. So it's a big endeavor, but at least we're trying to make it happen.
It's noble. Yeah, you're solving problems for law firms, right? And it sounds like
Mhm.
you're speaking directly to these attorneys on a regular basis. Is that right? I mean,
Pretty
it sounds
much,
like
yeah.
you are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's how you stay connected. That's great. Circling back briefly to kind of the marketing side before we dig a little bit deeper into the automations that you're doing. Marketing, you mentioned, for instance, and perhaps an estate planner, Facebook meta ads might work well there. How much would you be spending, about what's a approximate monthly budget that you would spend on meta ads to really move the needle?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically, I would say, so it depends, of course, on the area, type of matter. Uh, if it's personal injury, I typically say it's good to start with at least 3,500. If they can, 5,000. But you can still get a good amount of leads with 3,500. I think the reason why that works versus, and I would, if it was personal injury, I would never advise Google Ads at this point. It's just crazy
Mm,
expensive. It's just unless you got
yeah,
$70,000 a month that you can spend, it's just not worth it. So,
right.
um,
So we're focusing on the meta
Facebook is a
ad.
great, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's because it's a digital billboard is essentially what it is. So,
yeah, yeah.
a message to market match, as long as that's on point and it's open targeting, you can reach who you want to reach for way lower dollars than
Right.
search. Um,
What are the types of PI ads that you're finding convert? In other words, is it free consult? Is it a direct pitch? Is it something else? Is it educational? What type of ads are really working on the PI side for Facebook?
yeah, so I mean, pattern interrupt is most important. So if it's like a X-ray image, if it's just something peculiar related to injury, that'll stop the scroll, and then uh, it's it's really more of a direct approach. Problem,
Okay.
agitate, solution formula. Um, because we're it, dealing uh, calling out the pain, call out the location, um, call out the pain, agitate, and then if you want help, click here, and then goes right to the funnel. So that's pretty standard for a PI ad. Um, and then the same kind of thing for estate planning, or I mean, we're running them for family law too. So it's kind of it's yeah. If you want to
Yeah.
diversify, you can diversify. That's the good news.
Right.
And we've had some campaigns like for 1,500 a month get some good results. So um, at least that's the case right now. That may change, but I have definitely have seen it increase cost, over the last couple of years, particularly on Google more than Facebook. And I guess I would say on Facebook, it, because there's just more ads out there, the shelf life decays faster. So they're and they've done the Andromeda update most recently. They're of course really pushing hard to rely on AI and uh, but at the end of the day, what the result is, we have to just keep doing a lot of creative. Just it's a lot more emphasis on the creative um, than the targeting and demographics. That still applies, it's still important, but we're seeing that the Meta is really emphasizing the creative. So it's just constantly new creative, get it out there and scale what's working there, and then rinse and repeat when it stops. So
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, that's good information, good insight. So moving kind of into automations, which automations are most popular with the law firms that you're working with when they first begin working with you? And then we can kind of go into which automations tend to occur sort of later in that working relationship.
Sure. Yeah, kind of like the first ones out of the gate is, new client. So we create the agreement, e-sign agreement, the invoice, set up the client folders in the CRM, whether it's Clio or MyCase or whatever. Um, and then, once that converts, then here's the new client intake. And in that, capture the uh, the data to then map to fields for the forms or the documents or the templates. And I know there's a lot of different kind of technologies that can do that nowadays, and we're seeing that more and more. But that's basically those are the first phase is just getting that dialed in, um, and then it's
And you're working pretty closely, obviously, in the CRM, right? You're integrating with their existing CRM, or are you um, starting from scratch and building something that maybe the firm hasn't used before?
usually their existing CRM. Yeah, we're platform agnostic, we're tech agnostic. If not gonna, you know, rip something out if we don't have to, if they don't want to, unless it's like there's a real reason to do it. And most of them are pretty. Uh, that they're all innovating as fast as they can. So it's encouraging. So um, and they're all pushing their own AI layers inside, which is great. I have comments about all the above, but it's kind of it's what I would hope to expect that they're doing. So it's really easy to just connect with what they have and
Good,
get as much out as they possibly can.
good. And then those popular automations that maybe come, secondarily or even down the road. Where are we going from new client intake, that, the e-sign agreement, the folders, to, new client intake? What comes next?
Yeah, so it'd be sort of the more, I think usually it's drafting. Drafting is probably the biggest one. Uh, full on discovery, complaint, meet, confer, motion to compel, kind of like whatever. We try to start with what's the one, matter that you're, dealing with the most. Okay, let's just automate that full process,
Mm.
as much as we can, basically. Um, and then, sometimes they'll want like e-filing, which is kind of tricky because I've found a lot of times there isn't an API or it's a complicated API that we can connect to. We have to go through a lot of channels on the provider end to make it happen. So, um, or they don't have it at all. So, uh, it really depends on kind of what they're working with. But that's one that can be done. Um, we get a lot of talks about email inbox management, and I don't have a good answer or solution for that
Mm.
because it's kind of it's very deterministic, and everyone doesn't you don't we don't want to have another portal. We don't want to just make another dashboard.
Right.
Um, uh, and yeah, so that's one problem we're trying to work on solving. And I've played with a few different management softwares that are out there, and there's continues to be more, but I haven't been satisfied with one particular one. But yeah, that's definitely a complaint, which
Okay.
I can understand why.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, that's helpful. So, next comes obviously discovery, drafting, all of that. Anything else? What are some other popular automations? Have you experimented with voice agents? Are you doing any of that?
Yeah, definitely. And with the voice agents, we found uh, kind of mixed results. If it's like short, like real simple, it seems to be
Mhm.
fine. Um, we have made more complex ones, but we found some people just get annoyed with it. um, and I mean, I think it sounds okay, but yeah, um, yeah, we've experienced with. I mean, like one we've I think 5,000 minutes at least. Like, a couple months. So really heavy call volume. And we set up like of course, capturing the transcript, but also like a notes, form. Everything's, um, clearly stated out. Email that out to whoever needs to know, and then they can scan that and then set up the file, or the AI agent can set up a file from there. So,
Hmm.
uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's sort of yeah, it's just mixed. It's kind of like depending on how complicated, how long the intake actually is.
Right.
Um, and I would advise not having it be the front end to get all the calls, or maybe just like a couple of them, because especially in the beginning when it's not dialed in or optimized, yeah, you'll lose business. So, um, it's got to get optimized, and I found that period usually is, a couple months, uh, till it really gets good. Um,
Yeah. We've
so
seen
yeah,
some decent demand for voice agents here as well, and yeah, it's kind of varying degrees of success, really, depending on kind of how the firm's intake is set up. Is the voice agent the primary, receptionist, or is it kind of filtered down? I think all of those are important factors. So, James, when someone is interested in working with you, walk us through kind of how those first conversations go. Like, what questions do you need answered to understand which automations should be prioritized, and kind of how to take that first step?
yeah, great question. So typically you start with, what is the problem that needs to be solved? What is the biggest pain actually, and then go from there. Um, and then what are they wanting to draft? Is it research? Um, is it admin related? Is it legal related? Um,
Mhm.
and then so kind of from there, point to either existing tools that we don't have to recreate, and or plus, okay, we can just install this automation that's already been created that we can just tweak a little bit for this scenario. Um,
Mhm.
and we because we're really we're basically like the phantom partner of attorneys. So they may start with, coming in the funnel with an automation problem, but we know that there's a whole array of other things
Yeah.
that exist, to different degrees, and then depending on what their actual goal is. I love asking the question, where do you want to be 10 years from today? Where do you actually want to be? I know
Mhm.
it's kind of far out, but then at least have that sort of trajectory, and then we can break that down to, okay, well, then 5 years, 3 years, and then break that plan down and just think that through. And we're really looking for attorneys with the right mindset,
Mm.
and it's really, yeah. I mean, that really, at the end of the day, that's the core thing, because
Yeah, yeah. That
we can
makes
do a
total
lot of
sense.
things, but
Right.
if they don't want to play ball, or if they don't want to do certain things a certain way, um, or there's just too many false beliefs that are preventing them from getting to where they want to go, even though it's right there in front of them. I can't do it. So, um, but at the same time, if there's like, we always want to provide value. So if they just want this one thing, okay, fine, no problem. Here's what we can do, and here's the deliverable. Um,
Mhm. That makes
but
so much sense. So I'm interested when you ask that question, sort of what is your biggest pain point at this point? What are you hearing most often? Is it more admin related? Is it more legal related?
it's both.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's usually a yeah, it's an admin problem, it's a drafting problem, it's a research problem, um, or some combination of those usually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, of the new engagements that you're bringing on, that you're now taking on, it sounds like most of them you're offering kind of you're providing traditional sort of marketing, like, websites, SEO, perhaps meta ads, perhaps PPC, but then also the process automations. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's that all fits into the, standard operating procedures, and this, the organization chart, scoreboard, KPIs, OKRs, uh, to, that's kind of that's the harder part, finding the right person in the right seat, developing the right seat, that whole
Uh-huh.
exercise, most don't have that.
Right.
And that's what you
Absolutely.
need if you if you really want to scale up.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so, and that doesn't, of course, happen overnight. We find that typically takes 6 months, 6 to 12 months. It could be done in 30 days, but I found it's just, for the client, it's just unrealistic. Even though they want it, everybody wants it, tomorrow, but it's just, yeah, there just isn't enough bandwidth on their end to make it happen. We found.
Of course. Yeah. And what percent of the clients that you're working with now are you providing marketing services to? Is it all of
It,
them? Or
what percentage?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, pretty much all of them in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. Yeah.
They may not necessarily
Yeah.
be all running ads. They may just be doing SEO, social
Okay.
media.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
and I'm really trying to look out for them, and advise, okay, you don't want to make content? Fine, no problem. Just let's set up your AI avatar. Let's get it
Mm-hmm.
dialed in, make it, give me some good video prints so we can actually make a good clone. And then we
Mm.
can just render scripts, render the audio, and publish. So just
Yep.
because if you don't do it, you're just gonna fall
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And then when it comes to the automations, what percent would you say are sort of process automations versus marketing automations that you're building now?
I'd say for the most part, they're process.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
just because on the front end tech, like we go high level, it's, a lot of that work built in native workflows are really helpful. Pretty much handles all of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we we've created some internal, um, more elaborate, sort of, I guess we're sort of building it internally. I don't know if we'll deploy it, you know, publicly. It's kind of suited for what we're doing, but kind of like a lovable in it's made with lovable, and some
Mm-hmm.
other technologies, but it's, a custom interface, and, we can sort of connect in all the other tech that we're using, to generate, like a brand strategy, marketing, research project, and then create the emails based on that brand. So there's like those are like next level things that we
Mm-hmm.
spent time
Yeah.
on. I suppose that could be repurposed, and sold, but I mean, that's more of a distraction.
Right.
But
That's
yeah, I
cool.
mean, I think if we can get that into a consistent product, maybe we would deploy that for as just an added benefit for the firms. I mean, that's what's so exciting about today is it really is unlimited creativity can be done by pretty much anyone as long as you can just think about it and have some discipline to make it happen because we're not constrained by developers or not uh, non-tech background. The tools are there to make it happen. That's what's so exciting.
It's pretty incredible, right? It really is.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of a sense of pricing, just as far as do you charge a build fee plus some sort of maintenance retainer, or do you use a different pricing approach?
Yeah, typically like pricing a build cost, front end cost, and then recurring.
Mm,
And then we'll try to stack as many automations as possible on the front end uh,
mm,
to one be efficient, but also to just provide more value overall. Because we know there's always the next thing that's going to be needed or required or change. So yeah, um, yeah. This just made me think of uh, the Silicon Valley principle of mode of operation. They ask the question, okay, the tech's here, but why now? So like Uber, for example, why did it happen? Why hadn't it happened before?
mm.
Well, the reason it didn't happen before is because no one had a cell phone with GPS, so it couldn't have happened before then, and that's why it exists today. So I think it's a really interesting question to think about today, particularly when it comes to building a moat and building differentiation as a firm, because you can make your own LegalZoom now. That's one of the that's a so kind of I guess I forgot to mention that on the marketing side of things is creating a GPT that can deploy uh, standardized documents, based on your archive, your past uh, um, templates, and then use that as a low ticket funnel to hook them into, send them into, higher service. And that's totally possible today when it wasn't 3 years ago. So that's what's really exciting and I think we're going to just start seeing a lot more of that. And I think the wise thing as an attorney is to just work with the LLMs uh, to productize the services. So that's we're trying to do that as fast as we can for our firms in different ways. Uh, but that's a huge value add, massive, and that's like infinite scale. Because it's basically software. It's your own proprietary tech of sorts that you can deploy and build a list from that, build an audience from that. Um, so it's really incredible what we've
Really
entered
smart,
into.
really smart. So are you seeing demand from attorneys to build these custom GPTs for them on their behalf?
As
Are
soon
you
as they
getting?
as soon as they hear that message, yes.
Yeah, right.
you
Yeah,
know, I think
yeah,
a few that think outside the box are doing that, but
yeah,
yeah, I think it's really understanding, realizing AI can, and not just realizing, but truly believing that AI can do pretty much any of these things today.
yeah.
That's the honest truth.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just reversing back what you typically do on a day-to-day basis. So AI can handle it with the proper context, with the proper back end setup, and the rules and the parameters and the expectations. It can do it. So yeah, I'm. It's just an encouragement to get think outside the box because it can
Yeah,
happen now.
yeah, excellent advice. James, what challenges are you facing when you're working so closely with these firms? In other words, you are really, you and your team, that you're really integrating, you're really kind of diving deep into so many different departments, so many different areas of these firms. What challenges do you see when kind of trying to get all of this implemented?
It's like, what challenges do we not see?
Mhm.
um, I probably the biggest is, I mean, just from practical level, just getting information. That's probably like the hardest thing. I know it's like really rudimentary, but it is.
I hear
um,
you. Yeah.
just give me your API keys. It's all we need. Please, just 5 minutes of your recording, and just the way I showed you with the video. just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
just give us what we need. That I mean, that's probably like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then it goes back to a mindset thing. And I'll try to appeal to John Morgan. I like this is, as far as I know, this is how he did it. So if you want to get a firm close to that or around in that direction, well, just copy someone. So
Mhm. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and so it's just trying to work through some of those blocks, if you will. Uh, you know I'm surprised this is an issue. Well, I guess I'm not surprised. I think a lot of attorneys don't like invoicing and billing, and they're complaining about revenue and how many hours they're working and they can't afford more staff. Well, if you would just, discipline yourself to set aside 30 minutes a day or a week to do your invoicing, we won't have this problem. But
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, it's little things like that that I
Right.
find to be the most
Yeah.
cumbersome to overcome. Um,
I can relate to that. What about attorneys' impatience? In other words, they feel like maybe they're not seeing the results or the value quick enough. How do you combat that?
yeah, that's a good question. Um, and we just have a client right now that we stopped working with because for that very reason, even though we're doing the right things. She's
Mm.
in the B2B space. Uh, B2B takes longer anyways. So I think, and I certainly did my best to set the expectations properly, and what, kind of how long this is going to take. And I think it's really, over communicating that and over educating as much as possible how the marketing works, how client acquisition actually works, how offers actually work. Uh, you're not going to get every lead is going to be qualified. There's no marketing system in the world that's going to do that. Um, and I like, I might, it's not an exact Wall Street quote, but expect things to take longer than they do, but win beyond your imagination. So that's
Mm.
sort of like how Wall Street approaches the big market conditions as a
Right.
whole. So like, okay, we're going to spend 3,500 a month on ads. Expect to get 20 to 30 around there, some depending on the metro and the area. Uh, maybe so we'll average 3 to 5 clients out of that budget.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get one in month one, maybe zero in month two, and then maybe four in um, month three, and then 6 or 7 month five as it continues to optimize.
Mm.
Or maybe it's the reverse. Um, so I think it's just really comes down to over communicating those expectations and letting them
Right.
know this is what's going to happen, or this could happen, and don't be surprised by it.
Yep.
Um, and the reality is it is taking longer, and it is becoming more expensive uh, to advertise today than it was 12, 18 months ago.
Sure.
Um, just because there's more competition, I think, primarily, and then the platforms are making whatever changes that they're doing. Uh, so it's a level playing field for everybody at the end of the day. Um,
Right.
but and this really goes into the offer. It's I try to help them. Like, if they're a family law attorney, I might say, why don't you just instead of having your traditional retainer billable hour model, why don't just say, look, I'll do your divorce for from beginning to end litigation, $30,000 flat fee.
Mm, mm,
We can start with 10, 7,500 or 5, and then your monthly recurring till that's paid off.
mm.
And then when you start with that, you get all these other bonuses, your typical offer kind of stack, for that client type. Because then that's cash collected. We can use that to reinvest, and you just keep scaling.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's really the biggest value add for the attorney and for their end client, is coming up with those kinds of offers, that they really want. That's going to get that's going to be healthy cash flow, and couple that with AI, you can really get creative with these things and hardly cost anything, to your bottom line.
Right.
So,
Very cool. Really kind of helping the attorney productize their offer even further. Seems like it goes a long way.
oh yeah,
So, James, before we wrap up, I always like to ask if a lawyer watching only has time to adopt one, maybe two of your tips, what would you recommend?
yeah, great question. I would really say focus on one type of client, and the one that's generating the most revenue for sure. So go all in on one, and then yeah, really understand who they are, what is it they really want, what do they actually care about, and then build the entire offer around that.
Right.
And you can really just keep expanding on it. Like, I mean, if it's just like estate planning, for example, yes, you have the typical estate planning documents, but it's a lot more than that. It's a life journey. Um, so there's opportunity for providing, accounting, wealth management, life coaching, parenting 101. And it's not, I find a lot of attorneys make the mistake, oh, I'm the one that has to do all these things. No, it's you build your network of partners to do these things, and then you bundle everything together into this really great offer. And that's what people want, and will buy, and will pay premium for, and recurring. So I,
Yeah.
just thinking about it that way, there's no, it's not, just because you're a law firm does not mean you're constrained to only legal services. You can sell anything. So, just keep coming up with more value to add to the client, and then come up with a solution, uh, with partners and or AI to make it happen.
Excellent. I love that. Go all in on one type of client, build everything off of that. Good stuff, James. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your wisdom with us today. You were super generous with your time. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks so much, Kara. It's really great.
Thank you. So much good stuff from James today, right? Here are the key takeaways that I see. One, system failures often outweigh lead shortages, right? James observed that while many attorneys focus on getting more leads, more, the core issue is often what happens after the lead is generating, right? Most firms lack that structured intake process, follow up system, and consistent client communication that James talked about. These operational gaps result in lost opportunities, of course, even when quality leads are available. Number two, standard operating procedures enable that scalability. A key focus of James's work is helping firms create SOPs for client acquisition, for intake, onboarding, even fulfillment. Without these standardized systems, firms are forced to reinvent the wheel with each new client every single time, limiting growth and consistency. Those SOPs allow firms to delegate confidently and scale sustainably. Number three, virtual assistants can be a high ROI staffing solution. James emphasizes the effectiveness of virtual assistants, what he calls VAs, right, for legal support tasks, especially in intake, admin, and even document prep. He noted that the supply of high quality VAs, particularly in the Philippines and South Africa, currently far exceeds demand, making them a cost effective option for many firms.
Number four, use AI for video, content, and funnel building. Here at James Publishing, our James team is heavily leveraging AI for voice and video cloning, content creation, social media distribution. This allows for faster campaign execution and certainly stronger brand presence, especially important in an age where answer engine optimization, right? AEO is emerging alongside that traditional SEO. And lastly, number five, automation can enhance, not replace that client experience. While James's firm uses automation tools for tasks like follow up, nurturing, document creation, he certainly emphasizes that these tools should support, not substitute, right? Support, not substitute that human interaction. Effective automation, it can reduce manual workload and improve response time, but it's most valuable when paired with a trained and empathetic intake team, right? So I hope you found this interview to be helpful. I know I did. Please join me for the next one happening soon. Until then, keep marketing. Take care.